Are you tired of getting pushed around by your AK? Well, in today's video, we're going to talk about how to control the recoil on your AK, regardless of caliber, regardless of muzzle brakes, tune gas, or anything, bone stock AK. How to properly control your AK recoil. Before we get into today's video, the best way to support this channel is through thirdpinthreads.com. We have a lot of hats, a lot of cool t-shirts and hoodies. That's the best way to support us. We don't do paid ad reads for ball sack razors, and we don't have a Patreon. I don't plan on getting one anytime soon. I want you to get something for your cash. If you find these videos helpful, that helps me out, and I love seeing you guys out in the wild, and girls, wearing that stuff. And I want to give a big hell yeah to Mitch, our December giveaway winner. He won a very cool Davernoff gear package. This month, we're giving away 2 chest rigs, so we're going to select 2 winners. You're given 1 entry for every $1 spent at Third Pin Threads for the entire month of January. Good luck. A big stereotype to AKs, especially 7.62x39 versions, are that they kick like mules, mostly because of the round. It's a long stroke gas piston that just has a little recoil spring trying to contain all of this. So it takes a bit more on your part to kind of control that. It takes shooting the gun physically different than you would an AR-15. You have to stand differently, you have to hold it differently, and you just have to shoot it differently. It might look a little awkward in this video, but it definitely works. And to give full credit where credit is due, this whole technique of how to hold these things, I learned from Center T. Dima. Came all the way from Russia. We sat through a class. It was the greatest AK class I've ever taken. Some of the methods he taught us, it was pretty insane. I was watching this man shoot bone stock AKs and make them look like blasters from Star Wars. I mean, no recoil. It was absolutely incredible. Physically, just by standing a certain way and manhandling it a certain way. And I'm like, wow, I've never seen anyone shoot an AR-15 like that. Not that you have to, because they have like no recoil. So credit where credit is due. This is kind of a Russian method, an Eastern European method of doing this, but you have to think, these guys grew up shooting these. We grew up shooting ARs. We're used to low recoil, right? What are you laughing at? We're used to low recoil. When we shoot this, we're like, dang, man. And we put it down, we go right back to our AR, right? Well, they had to get used to this, and they have developed some pretty cool methods on controlling this stuff. So without further ado, let's show you a little demonstration. This is Russian Saiga, so it doesn't really matter what the AK is. It's bone stock factory gas. It's a factory gun, so this isn't like a tuned gunsmith kit build or anything. So we're shooting just relatively under gas Tula steel case. Brass case is going to kick harder. But what I want to show you is I see a lot of people shoot guns in general, doesn't matter what it is, very casually, not with a whole lot of purpose. And they can literally just walk out to a gun range, kind of halfway square up to a target, chicken wing out, and start shooting this thing. I don't know if you saw that. Is it comfortable? Yeah, it's a comfortable way to shoot it. But man, that muzzle flips. And it's just digging into a weird spot on my shoulder. Not everyone shoots like that, but some people, if they're not really trying to control recoil, it can feel like it has way more than it has. So I want to show you the center T method. And the reason they call it the center T method is you're making a center T with your feet. So if you look down here at my feet, the gun, dead center of my body, okay? My feet are making a T. Dead center, feet making a T. I'm aiming at my target. So they're not really staggering their feet all that much. So let's start with where our feet need to go. Come on, go ahead and get close here. A lot of Americans are totally turning their body sideways to a target. Eastern Europeans will totally square up to a target. Both of my toes are pointed at the target. If anything, if I'm shooting right-handed, my right foot will take a slight step back. If I'm shooting left-handed, my left foot will take a slight step back. So, we're right-handed. My mother was not a witch, so we're going to shoot the regular way. I'm squared up, put a little suspension in my knees. My knees are not locked. And now look here, I'm kind of poking my butt out, right? Butt's poked out. The way I like to explain this is, like if you see before track stars run the 100-yard dash or whatever, I don't know anything about that, I'm just trying to use a reference. If you're gonna take off and run away from something, do you stand kind of casually, or do you kind of brace for it and get ready? Think about you're about to run towards your target, that's kind of how your body needs to get. Bend the knees, toes are almost in line, right foot's a little bit back. Back to the T thing. The gun is not going to be here. The gun is going to be really close to the center of your body, almost on your collarbone. Butt's poked out a little bit. I'm leaning forward into it. Leaning forward. That might not look very comfortable. Might not look like a common way to hold a gun. But if you watch how I shoot it here, every part of my body is controlling recoil. Back's bent, my butt's out, my knees are bent. Everything's ready to like control shock. Like I'm about to fight somebody. Literally like I'm a sumo wrestler and I'm about to fight this guy, only I'm holding an AK. So let's go ahead and take a few shots here. Show you what I mean. I don't know if you saw that. It felt like it had less recoil. Everything was locked in. My elbows are damn near pointed straight down to the ground. The Eastern Europeans will even take it a step farther and grab the magwell. Most Americans are like, what? We don't magwell grip, that's stupid. Like, I used to think the same thing. I don't use it all the time. It has its benefits. We won't get into that for like defensive stuff, but these guys will literally have the same stance, look at their target, magwell grip, come into that collarbone, and control recoil like I didn't think was possible. Pretty easy, and your body is so low, your head naturally uses that factory stock and gets on those iron sights pretty easy. So we'll go back to holding the grip. I know a lot of people aren't going to adapt the magwell hold. I myself don't use it all that much, certainly not for competitions. We'll go back to a very casual hold. Super casual, I'm just chilling. Squared up, center T method. Not too bad. There's really not a whole lot that goes into that other than think about it. If they're letting that tiger out of the cage and you have to outrun that tiger, how would you stand? Over here, you got a tiger here about to chase you. You got a sumo wrestler here about to fight you. You would probably end up doing something like this. It might look a little unnatural, but I'm telling you, AKs are a little unnatural compared to AR-15s. You just have to shoot them differently. And you can really manhandle 7.62. So, my wife weighs 110 pounds. This gun has factory gas. Let me show you how she can shoot it casually. And if she gets into that fighter stance, I'm always yelling at her, how she can control recoil that way for a small person. A big guy can handle a gun just about any way that he's standing. Let's see how Rachel can do it. That even still looked good, but let's go ahead and change that stance up. Yeah, look good. So now what we're gonna do is I'll take a few shots from this stance. We'll transition and move, get right back into it. Transition and move and get right back into it. I'm gonna take the time to sink in before I squeeze some shots. Keep this muzzle down. We're not gonna let this thing push us around. I mean, I'm not really feeling all the recoil. It just helps. Another good thing about that stance is when I'm going to move, I'm kind of already in that position to get going. Versus being very casual, getting going, I'm already looking like I'm about to run for my life somewhere. So, great stance to be in. Now, something that a lot of people don't practice is moving and shooting. Moving slowly, heel toeing. Some of you are familiar with that term. We're literally rolling on those heels and toes, all while trying to maintain this stance. This kind of sucks sometimes, but we're gonna try to keep all of our rounds on target. We're at maybe 25 yards, all while controlling recoil and moving. We are on iron sights too, by the way. Stayed low. My body soaked up that recoil. Leaning forward, I am really leaning into it. I mean, my body's already ready to compensate every time this gun tries to kick me back. Even when reloading, you can stay sunken down into that center T stance. Other than that, guys, pretty much all I have for you today. Set up some drills if you can. I know it's hard to find a range like this that gives you freedom and doesn't require you to shoot from a bench. I know they're not everywhere. If you can find one, if you know a guy with property, whatever, set up a few targets, really sink down into this stance, incorporate some courses of fire. Requires some moving and shooting, throw in a couple of reloads. Always try to get your hits, and then start speeding up how fast you're getting those hits while you're sunken down into that center C stance. And then start speeding up those shots while getting hits, all while sunken down nice and low. And just keep practicing that, man. AKs, only push them around if you let them. Regardless of caliber, regardless how they're set up, there are some guns that are egregiously overgassed with no muzzle brake whatsoever. I've got a Type 3 that's pretty gnarly. Still, you can control it. If you really had to, elbows locked, feet squared, toes towards the target, slightly step back on whichever arm you're shooting on, and really lock in and sink down low. It'll freak you out how level these things will stay, how flat they'll shoot. I remember talking to Dima when he was here. They don't use, like, that doesn't translate into Russian very well. I was like, man, when you shoot that gun, it stays flat. And he's like, he didn't know what that meant. Like, we say gun shoots flat, that means no recoil. They don't even, like, that doesn't translate at all. He's like, flat? He's like the gun is flat? I'm like, no. But yeah, the gun stays flat. For Dima, the gun shoots very soft when you hold it the right way. But that's it, man. I appreciate everyone watching this video. Everyone drop an F down in the comments for my wife, the camera girl. She's out here hustling, getting this video out for everyone. Appreciate you all watching. If you want to support the channel, go by thirdpinthreads.com. We have other videos we're dropping in regards to reloading, kind of the basics of when you get your AK, how to zero them, manipulating safeties, manipulating charging handles. Those are all going to be coming very soon if they're not up already. And again, practice that stance and don't let these things push you around. I'll see you next time.